Hey guys, this is Ashten.
This is Kevin.
And this is Ray.
And this is Jedi Geek Row from I Rebel.
So today we're going to be going over some of the new spoils that just dropped. We're titling this Clone Wars because, of course, we have the famous Rex. And this looks like this is the Rex from Clone Wars, which I'm pretty excited about. Maybe we'll see him in his older version from Rebels in the future. We'll see. But we're going to kind of go through these cards a little bit here with Jedi Geek Row and Kevin and Ray and talk about why we love these cards and some things that we're excited for, maybe in the format coming up soon. And also to discuss some of the other character pairings and some other cards that can be used that have more of an impact now because of Rex's ability. So we're going to go ahead and start right in here on Rex. So one thing that's really cool about Rex is he is 11 for 11. 11's really good. I mean, that's a good way to start. 11 points is really low. And with the die sides that he has, being that 1 range, 2 indirect, and that focus, that's awesome. I mean, me and Ray have been talking more about this, and Kevin as well, about how impactful focuses are. And that's one thing that Ray's been really trying to push in my mind is, like, you know, you have to have a way to get that damage. Don't just focus on being an aggressive player and discarding a reroll. Try to trigger more of those focuses. Try to stack and play your damage more strategically. So I really appreciate the fact that he has that focus side. And with his ability, you know, before you activate this character being Rex, you may spend 1 resource or spot a clone trooper to take control of the battlefield, which is huge. I mean, there's a lot of different cards now that we can actually utilize to actually trigger these things more consistently. So with this, it is a character, he is a leader, and he is a trooper. And this is something that I'm really excited for. And Jedi Geek Row, if you don't mind, kind of touch base a little bit more on these titles and what you think about some additional pairings with Rex.
I absolutely love these subtitles. They actually introduce a lot of layers to the game because instead of having cards limited to yellow, you can limit them to a subclass. Also, you can do a spot. Instead of like spot a yellow, you can do spot trooper. It also makes the game a lot more balanced. And as far as pairing goes, when it comes to Rex, I am actually looking to pair him with Cassian because I love Cassian and he's really good for his point cost because he's like a mini Palpatine. So I'm trying to make a pairing with him work, and Rex right now seems like the best pairing that you can go because everything else in red just doesn't work. And while blue is good with Cassian, it doesn't have that synchronicity unless you use Luke. So when I saw Rex, I'm like, this can go good with Cassian because Rex is a aggressive card with 3 damage sides, along with Cassian 2 damage sides and his ability. Not only that, but it also allows you to run red and yellow, which looks like, especially after Way of the Force, there's going to be a lot of synchronicity. Not only can you choose to run Elite Cassian, Elite Rex, but you can also do a single die of each one of them with 9 points left over. So you can do a 3 wide with 1 die each, but more health. So it's really interesting to see where they're going with the direction of the design of this game because Cassian and Rex, along with another character, all have the same thing. So not only do you have 2 elite at 28 points to allow 2 points for a plot, but you also have 14 for 2 non-unique and then 2 of these middle characters and a non-unique. It's very interesting, and the synchronicity between red and yellow I think is worth pairing Cassian with Rex, but that's not the only pairing that we can do because along with Cassian, the other one that has 14 points is Plo Koon. Kevin, can you share with us a little bit about that character pairing and what that might look like?
So Plo Koon, he likes to copy the abilities of each non-unique character that you have in play. So I mean, the pairing that comes to mind that you have room for is 1 die Rex, 1 die Plo, and then 1 die a Clone Trooper. So that way you can get the best of both worlds between your 2 unique characters. Now, you know, you were talking about the die sides being very similar between red and yellow, but, you know, Plo Koon gives you an extra trooper ability on not a trooper, and it gives you access to the blue cards that you love and hold dear to your heart, like Caution and Force Illusion, and you know, all those lovely blue cards. And speaking of blue cards, Ray has made a pairing.
Hey,
Ray has made a pairing on his own.
It almost seems like we've tried to really plan this out. You know, this
man.
You know, and I think Jedi Geek Girl has got everything to do with that. She's like, she's bringing structure to the JackalBuddies. So Ray, tell us about this card.
Tell us
I'm
about your
still
blue
laughing
card.
about you saying like that you hold near and dear to your heart. I don't want to mention any of those blue cards, but you know the ones you love.
I mentioned them, man. I mentioned them. All right,
Oh.
we're
All right,
totally
so-
derailed. Come on back.
I am fortunate enough to have a guy like Ashten who has made some proxies for these, and I have gotten a little bit of playtesting in with Rex and Ayla. So I'm kind of like coining this as the new like R2P2 for the I almost want to say Legacies meta, but that's what they were in. But this is like the new age R2P2, and it has indirect damage sides. Like Ashton said, Rex does have that focus on him, so that gives you a little bit more flexibility as far as just focusing into damage. I do believe that Ayla's partner, it was definitely meant to be Rex because they just work so well together in producing damage. Their base sides are pretty much the same, just one's ranged, one's melee. But it's pretty awesome that in a perfect situation, if you were to roll out all indirect, you're smacking your opponent for 8 indirect. I think that there's a lot of lines of play that you can achieve with these two character pairings, and that's what I'm saying. I'm coining this the new R2P2. I think that this will be a huge deck once Way of the Force hits. So
One of the things I want to touch base on that too.
Ashten.
Hey, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I didn't jump that queue. All right, so with one thing I want to touch base with before we go to the non-structured card that I'm supposed to go over is that Ayla, okay, she's a similar to what I was trying to pull off with Baze and Ayla. Remember that?
Yeah, Baze Ayla. Yep.
So
yep,
I was trying to do something with
I wanted to forget it.
Yeah. I want to try to do something with Baze Ayla. And, obviously we found a better replacement. But the cool thing about that is that I wanted to go after that ranged. I wanted to go after that, modify the blue and the red die. So I feel like I finally got that. I feel like, okay, this is going to be awesome. This is something I'm super excited about. This is something that I can pursue a little bit more to try to pull that together. And I think you hit it right on the head there, Ray, is that I think this is going to be a better, version of what R2P2 was. So, but one of the things I've been messing around with the proxies that we've recently made is obviously the clone trooper. So call it, 2 Rex, 3 Rex, whatever you want to call it. But what's really nice about this is the fact that you get to re-roll the die, and then because you are majority of the time in possession of the battlefield because of Rex's ability by activating him either a little later or earlier in the game, depending, you get to also re-roll a character die. Because if you control the battlefield, you may re-roll one of your character die, which is really nice. So with that being possible, we can have a little bit more synergy and try to get those blanks out of the way. But anyway, so we've been running that, and we've been also putting in this new plot card. So, Kevin, what are you thinking about this new plot card and how it may fit in with the Ray? Yeah, I'm still talking.
No, it's cool.
You jerk. The clone trooper and the Ayla Rex build. How do you feel that plot card's going to match up in those? And tell us a little bit more about it, Kevin.
So Ashton and I met up today because after our GQ, we had to trade some cards back that we borrowed, and we just started going on about this plot card because your action, you get to exhaust this plot to place 1 resource on it to resolve one of your dice, increasing its value by the number of resources on this plot. So it's just money. That it's not money that you have to move from your resources onto this card. It's just like a token. It's like a counter. And so Ash and I were talking like, are disrupts now going to be able to disrupt money on cards? Are there going to be cards that let you move resources from cards to your resource pool? It like Finn can move damage from one card to another, Finn 2. And Rose can heal damage off of other cards, and Mend can heal damage off of, is it going to be similar to those? I mean, it definitely opens up a lot of doors to future cards that might come out or future game mechanics that might come out, and it's gotten me really excited.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I actually watched the interview with Jamie, and he was talking about how his goal for the game is to try to make the game a little bit longer. Instead of it ending by turn 3, try to have it end by turn 5. So right now, I don't think this card is good. I think if you have 3 points, I think Probable Connection is the way to go. But I think this card will be a card to gain a lot of steam after the Awakening block rotates, which will be in 2 sets. It does take an action to exhaust it, and it really isn't too effective till like turn 3. But the potential and the things that you can do with it once you reach to a higher is absolutely incredible. Like you can do a one focus for 3, which can be anywhere to, instead of additional 2 damage, you can do additional 6 damage with that focus. You can do money to ramp. It's just, I do like this card. I just think that this is a card that you put in your back pocket. I don't think this is a card that you run right now, unless there is a card that allows you to place tokens. And I think that we are going to see cards that allow you to like move a resource token. Like for example, could you imagine a red event card that maybe costs 0 that allows you to move a resource token from one area to another? So it would be almost like a disrupt, or you can take a resource token from your pool to move it to this plot, or to this plot to your pool. I do think that there is potential in the game to tap this mechanic. Just like you can move damage through Finn on support and backup muscle if you want to do that. I don't know why. Oh, Rose, I don't know why you want to heal damage from your backup muscle, but there's the interaction there. I think we can see a card that allows you to move a resource, and it's interesting that it says resource and not damage.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I noticed in the playtesting was the fact that it lets you resolve one of your dice, increasing its value, like you were saying earlier. So in the Clone Trooper Rex build that I was running with long-term plan, I was able to get those resources in later playtesting to where I could stack it, 2 or 3 times, and I could actually at the end grab additional 2 resources to play some card or access it quicker to play something that's 4 costs instead of 2 costs. So it does give you that ramp for resources. It could give you the ramp for shields if you may want to, or for a discard of some sort. I mean that's a cool concept, and I think that the fact that it lets you increase the value, that's great. That's very impactful. But again, this being red, obviously we have the blue plot card that was also revealed earlier, which was built to last. I definitely would say we're going to get yellow and we're going to get gray. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're going to see that. Not to get too far off track, but Jedi Geek Row, what do you think the yellow plot card could potentially be?
Before we move on to the yellow card, I do want to mention that if you notice, it is hero only, so that restricts its use. So I would imagine that we are going to get one of each. I would think that it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to think that we are going to get a yellow hero, yellow villain, and maybe a yellow neutral. So that's interesting. As far as the yellow one goes, I think that we are going to get maybe we might get a yellow villain only. So we can, that would be interesting. I wonder if it has to be a control plot, I would imagine. I think that is something that is needed right now in the game, and I'm a big fan of yellow with Tron, so any yellow plot card that allows you to control. So I don't know, maybe you exhaust it to disrupt or mill or something. Could you imagine like a 3 plot card that's yellow that you exhaust it and you mill a card off your opponent's deck? I mean, it does cost 3, but
that's
that
a freebie.
1 mill.
Or like an honor guard, like something that would just remove a die, but it just stays out there. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I hope that these villain characters that we get in this set are just as powerful as these hero ones. Because now I'm thinking about it, we have like all hero cards that we're getting here, like a few neutrals, but a large majority of them have been hero. And have we gotten a villain? We haven't even gotten a villain.
We got Grievous.
Grievous.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder, like, why are they focusing on heroes? I mean, even the content creators all have been heroes. Like, are they trying to hide something? Not hide something, poor choice of words, but conceal something because of some sort of big thing? It just makes you wonder. And it also makes you wonder if we're going to see this consistency, because right now the hero lineup is all good. You got Luke at 15 points, 12 health. You got these 14 things that you can see where they're going with the direction of the game, and you hope that they take that to the villain side to try to grow that diversity. I think the points might be a little bit differently, but hopefully they construct the same dynamic of structure that the heroes have right now.
Now, speaking of like a shakeup to the game, we have a battlefield that has a die. associated with it. And I'm going to talk about this. It's Bendu's Lair. I hope I said that right. Not a silent U, right?
Yeah, it's silent. It's silent. We already had this discussion, Ray. It's Bend Lair.
Bend Lair.
Bendy's lair.
So it's Bendu's Lair, and the die sides, everything seems pretty nice. I mean, you got some damage in there, you got some focus, shields, resource. Everyone hates that blank, but it has it. So it has a power action. It says, and this is when you control this battlefield. So roll this die into your pool, and then after you take control of this battlefield, remove that die. So essentially, if you control the battlefield, you power action, so you use an action to roll this die in. If you don't resolve it kind of in a timely manner, your opponent can certainly claim, and that die is going to be removed. So I have to always hate one thing when we do these spoilers. It has to be this. I just think that there is more effective battlefields out there that don't have, a die associated with them. But I think that this is like a little janky, and I appreciate the direction that they're going, where, not only are the plots kind of, interacting with what's going on with the battlefield and with the game state, but now the battlefield, not so much does it have just a claim action, but now it also has a die associated with it. So, like I said, I appreciate the kind of sentiment of, explaining or kind of moving into this new kind of game space, but I'm not a fan.
So, I actually do like it because it is a free die that you or your opponent can get. And if you're running a quick deck, you start off, and if your opponent perhaps gives you the battlefield, that's a free die that you can use, that you can try to action sheet out. And I do like that aspect, because now instead of like a 5 die start, you could theoretically start with a 6 die start, and having that extra die. A die is a resource, for lack of better words, that asset would probably be a better word, that is something important to you. So even if you roll a blank, that is still a dice that you can manipulate, that is still a dice you can throw away for removal and stuff like that. And it is a little bit risky to run it, but if you have a quick deck, having that extra die per turn is useful. And another thing I would like to add is, if you use this power action to roll the die into the pool, and your opponent takes control of the battlefield, removing that die, that power action was already used, so they cannot use that power action as well. What I also like about this card is synchronicity with Rex, in the sense that if your opponent brings it to the field, you can use Rex to steal it, then use the die.
100%. Yep. And playtesting, and that was the case for me, is that I always had it. And I found a lot of times it would kind of almost force the opponent to claim a little earlier than they usually would, because they don't want to get hit with that 2 indirect, or they don't want to give me that focus. So they would kind of claim a little earlier, maybe jump the gun a little bit, so I don't get that additional benefit from it, which worked in my favor. So, and you're right, with the power action, that is a cool little trick, that it's not action, it's an actual power action, which is cool.
I like the die sides. I think that they're definitely cool. Like, anytime you can get 2 shields out of 1 die, like I like that. As far as damage dealing, it's a little underwhelming, but that kind of package of symbols, I could see that on a character. The fact that it's on a battlefield, it's cool. I would never see myself playing with this.
So let's go ahead and, Ray, touch a little bit on what you're talking to us about earlier, about where Profitable Connections could kind of meet in here, and what you think it could be placed in.
So there are a lot of builds that Profitable Connections flourishes in. Most recently, with the Ray Ayla build, it gives you that point structure where you have some additional points left over. And Profitable Connections fits right in there. So where going back to the kind of deck that I have built based off the proxies and TTS, so I have Rex and Ayla, and then that puts me at 26 with both of them being elite. So I threw Profitable Connections in there mainly because it is the best plot card in the game right now. Before we get to really see what Way of the Force has to offer, and just with all the base damage sides that they have, and being able to throw down a 3-cost upgrade turn 1, preferably one that's redeployable, Ray's Saber, an heirloom on Ayla, or you can even throw down a 2-cost upgrade and still have some money left over for other mitigation. I just think it's really strong to kind of start out the game with such an advantage over your opponent. But that's where I'd like to see it fit in. Obviously, I'm going to have to see some of these other plot cards because I really do think that they are kind of making this set work so well together. Like, between myself and Jedi Geek Girl talking about this being like a kind of a tribal set, and you can kind of hear our thoughts on a previous podcast that I just did with her. But it just seems like everything is going to support everything else. They're building characters that work together, that they kind of were made for each other. But I think that we should also look into some of like the other cards, like the supports, and obviously some of the events that now Rex and these spoilers open us up to. So go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the things you can do too with this is if you were going to run something like, let's say, Rex and Ayla, and you could try to run something like Built to Last there, because that is 4 points, and you can still fit that in there. The crazy thing about it is now, which I'm super excited for, Mortar Team and Lookout Post can be way more playable now. Like, I'm super excited for that. So now, I'm really able to have a control of that battlefield so much to the point to where I can really deal some indirect damage. So I'm super excited about that. I mean, obviously we can see these cards and understand very simply why they're beneficial, but now they're 2 cost. Those modified sides are great, and we can definitely do something with it. So so the next set that next few cards we're going to talk about, we can kind of go a little bit further into. So Jedi Geek Row, you want to talk about the first set of the events?
As I mentioned earlier, with the synchronicity between red and yellow, it seems like Rex has really boosted these colors. Obviously, Rex allows you to take control of the battlefield, which powers up your dug in, your defensive position, your superior position, which are all really strong, powerful cards. And being able to turn those cards online whenever you want, especially when you pair them with hit and run, is really powerful and strong. And as I mentioned earlier, with the yellow and red pairing, yellow likes to give the control of the battlefield to your opponent, like Jeremy said in his interview with Team Covenant, and with Rex, that allows you to take the battlefield back. So hypothetically, you could play a hasty exit, activate Rex, and play another hasty exit, or maybe hasty exit, activate Rex, play a defensive position. Mm-hmm. So it really adds a lot of it adds a lot of layers in the game, and I think red and yellow definitely did get a buff. It's all about figuring out the correct pairings right now, but it just brought a lot of life back into these cards that really have not seen a lot of play since the Awakening format. Like even defensive position, which is a really strong card, has not really seen a lot of play since, well, Spirit of Rebellion format, because it was in Pro Mars. But yeah, it turns on a lot of cards.
Yeah, I think especially defensive position, that's a card that so many people, like Jedi Geek Girl was saying, it's super powerful, but people kind of like, they're about to put it in their decks, and then they see the potential there, but it is situational in the sense that you have to control the battlefield to get that real blowout of your opponent's dice. So, being able to turn something like that on every time you activate maybe one of your most important characters in a deck, that's a pretty cool mechanic.
So one of the great things that we can obviously do that we were talking about a little bit with the Gungans is the trainings. You can run the trainings in there. So if you are going to run Rex, Clone Trooper, you can kind of throw that trainings in there to get you up to that 4 die, and obviously use that to impact more things. But I don't think anything is going to be as good as using hit and run combo for dug in or defensive position. Like that's super awesome. So I'm definitely looking forward to utilizing that combo more. So anything you guys want to touch on before we wrap up our thoughts and opinions on these spoilers?
Well, I was basically going to conclude and say that with my episode featuring Ray, we basically nailed it on the head with how thematic this set is going to be. It seems like with Rex and 2 clone troopers, as well as Cassian and 2 Jedi partisans, that they really have an idea of where they're going with the theme, and that's beautiful because not only are we getting a strong sense of theme and synchronicity between characters, but they are working at a competitive level that it makes me even more excited to definitely see not only the upcoming cards, but the villain side, because this is what we want in a Star Wars game. Not only do we want a game with a lot of viable decks, but having them being thematic just makes it more enjoyable and a more enriching experience. So again, check out the latest episode of I Rebel featuring Ray called Scruffy Looking Nerf Herder. And we nailed it. We called it. So good job, Ray.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the other thing was in the podcast that me and Jedi Geek Row did as well. You know, we were talking
With
about
Kevin.
the titles. Yep, with Kevin. And we were talking about the titles, and that was one of the cards I was super excited about is having Rex. And Jedi Geek Girl, you're right there with me. You're like, yep, Rex, we're going to see Rex. You're absolutely right. And guess what? We're looking at Rex. And, you know, obviously they know what we want as players, and it's so great that we're getting that. So that's a huge thing for me, is that we all want these great, powerful things and want to see these pairings and pay attention more to titles. If you come from like a title background like Magic, where all those things are so key, that me and Ray have played around a lot with, and this is just a great feeling. It's like, oh my gosh, like I got to make these proxies fast. I got to play test these things quick. You know, let's get these things out here on our streams, and let's get people building and keeping them excited about the new stuff that this game is going to be putting out.
Speaking of streams, we will be having these proxies on our next stream this upcoming Monday. So join us if you want to see them get played, put in action.
I would like to say that Rexla is going to be the next hottest deck in the meta, and be on the lookout for that one, because they just work so well together, and I'm super excited about it. And don't play that Battlefield or that weird plot. Rex is the bee's knees, and that's all I have to say, guys. Thanks, Jedi Geek Girl.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for watching the Sound the Alarm. We really appreciate all your support and everything that you guys have been giving us as far as great feedback on this new format. Sorry, sometimes we're just like still in the camera and like it looks like things are frozen, but we're all just really trying to understand what Ray's trying to say. That's all. So anyway, but guys, we really appreciate it. And Jedi Geek Row, thank you so much. I mean, you have been some of the force behind everything we do, and you've been very supportive with us, and we do greatly appreciate that. So thank you for all the positivity you've given us, and the additional pushes you give us for, you know, helping us get on the podcast or coming on ours. So we greatly appreciate that, and thank you.
It's been a blast. I always enjoy working with you guys, and I'm looking forward to doing more of it.
All right, guys. Well, again, take it easy, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, I said Rexla.
Rex
and Ayla.
Built to Last is going to be better.